So as I'm watching my longtime partner and new husband pack for his trip, his mood shifts considerably. He now knows that I know that his mistress will be joining him on his bachelor party, that his friends are also going to be attending. So I'm beside myself inside. I don't really have much of an affect. I'm just sitting there kind of watching him pack. And he's packing with a little bit of anger. And he starts saying, I didn't want to effing marry you. I didn't want to be married. And he sounds, it's like vitriol, like just pure anger. And I'm sitting there just like still trying to process, how can you be angry? How could he be angry with me? Or how could he feel like he was wronged? And so I'm sitting there and I'm like, so why, why did you get married? And he's like, you wanted to get married. I don't know what the rush was. And I'm sitting there just like silent. Like just, what do I say? He's talking to me like I did something to him. And I'm like, well, you told me you're polyamorous. You were saying that you want to work things out. Like, you just asked me, like, over the last few days to work things out. And now you're saying you don't want to be married. You don't want to be in this situation. I'm like, so, what is it? I don't understand. I don't understand. Like, I told you that we could get a divorce. And, if that's what you want. But I also, said I was willing to explore a different type of relationship if that was more realistic and, my needs were met. Because I wasn't, he was packing right now and he was going to be with someone else now. So the stakes in my heart and my mind were much greater. It felt different when I knew he was going to be going away with the guys to maybe clear his head and enjoy his, he was no longer single, but enjoy his time just being a guy, maybe getting advice. But now there was this imminent threat of someone who he clearly had feelings for, who he had shown so much interest in, and they would have the time and space to fall in love freely. No more hiding, no more rendezvous behind my back. This was a full-blown vacation, romantic vacation in a different country. They were going on a honeymoon together, and I was the one that got married to him. It's not funny, but it's just kind of sad. But I remember him kind of packing, and I was asking, like, what would it take for you to be okay with being married? Like, it must be a reason why you got married. And, because we didn't have a prenup. We didn't have children. There was really no reason for him to feel inclined to marry me if it wasn't something he really wanted to do. There was no familiar pressure. We didn't come from a family that had those requirements. Our families were, they liked us both and we got along well, but I wasn't aware of any inherent pressure to become married. So I didn't understand it. But what I did hear him say, which sounded like so juvenile, was, well, I want to be able to do what I want do everything I want, and that's how I'll be happy in this marriage. And it was like an impossible thing to process, because it's like he's telling me he wants to be, and he will be happy or satisfied in this marriage if he's able to do whatever he wants to do. What do you say to that when your partner is about to leave you and you just married him, and you've shared years and time and memories, and you haven't even, the day that he's leaving is your 1 week anniversary, and he's leaving. What do you do with that? I know I just sat there and was just in awe of the audacity. And then I said, well, I'm willing for us to have an open relationship, or, if you're polyamorous, that's something I can learn about it. And I'm willing to be open to that. That's fine. Because I really wanted things to work out. But I also took to heart the comment that he had made that, loving other people doesn't take away the love I have for you. And I really believed that. And so I already found an online book on polyamory and was trying to understand how it worked. And I was just so curious, and I didn't know really much about it. And I just remember clearly setting a boundary and realizing I don't like this situation, but I'm not going to just let him just roll over me and think that I'm just going to accept this. And so I said, listen, you could potentially date other people if that's, we could talk about that. But what I will not condone and what does not make me feel comfortable is you continuing this relationship with this woman. So, that's an affair, and that's not the same. And I don't feel comfortable with that. And it makes me uncomfortable, and I don't want to agree to that. And another classic thing that he said was, well, if you make me break up with her, then I will, basically he used another word, but I will have sex with everything that's walking. So that was another impossible predicament he placed me in another scenario that didn't seem quite fair. So yeah, it was tough. And then so I watched him pack. He calmed down a bit, because I guess he realized, okay, well, can't undo the fact that she knows what's happening, and I'm about to be in a tropical environment and free to fall in love. So I guess he was getting excited, and he asked me if I wanted to come with him to a store. He wanted to get some sneakers, so I got to watch him buy $200+ shoes for his special romantic trip. And then he was like, oh, do you want to come with me to the airport? And of course, at this point, every moment with him was important, right? And so he had basically figured out a way to keep me under control, because now I couldn't act upset. I couldn't act agitated. I had to be pretty docile to be what I thought in a situation to be desired, or for him to want to come back. I didn't want him to feel like it was a hostile environment. And so I was pretty disarmed and kind of just floating around. And it was tough. And we rode in an Uber, and as we got closer, it was becoming more and more real that he was really leaving, and that he had offered at some point, oh, I don't have to go, I can stay here. And I knew that if I had said, first of all, it shouldn't have been something that was in my court. He should have made that decision. But if I had even insisted on that, felt like I wouldn't hear the end of it and that I would be blamed for not allowing him to go out. It's kind of like I saw the writing on the wall, so I wanted to be as agreeable as possible because I was in such a vulnerable position. And I had set up all these counseling appointments for us with different therapists. I just reached out, not even set them up, but just like reached out to a ton of them and, was seeking therapy and told them the situation and, was hopeful that after he got this trip out of his system, he would come back and be focused on the healing and focusing on our relationship and our marriage because we had a life together. We shared a home. We, did business together. It just, our families, there was a strong bond. So it just, to me, was like, this is just an affair. And, I don't even know if there was any like rationale or like it was illogical. I was lost. I was in pain. I was still trying to process all of the things I had learned in that week, from the affair to being blamed for things and his polyamorous like lifestyle and the fact that she was going on this trip. It was just like I just kept getting hit. And then, I kept thinking, like, is he going to have this woman around these people? And, like, how is this okay? Like, how is anyone that knows me, that I've in his life, that I've been so kind to him, I've been so good to him. How can anybody on this trip condone this or co-sign this? Like, aren't they going to be like, didn't you get married? Like, why would you have this woman on the trip? Well, it turns out this whole crew has been involved in this type of lifestyle of serially cheating on their wives and partners and treating women like commodities and objects. On top of that, two of them didn't know we had even married, because when we sent the announcements out, he deliberately didn't give me his list because he said he was still working on it. He knew that he didn't want to tell his friends that he had gotten married because of whatever he had been saying about us and me behind our backs. So the list only went out to our families, that there's a different side that he shows them, and some of my friends who, I'm a girl, I just got married, I definitely want to share it with my closest friends, and so I added them to the list, but none of his friends were on the list. And so as we got closer to the airport, I looked at his ring and I said, are you going to take that off at some point? And he was like, yeah. And I was like, I guess you should take it off now, just for the sake of it. And that's what he did. And he hasn't worn his ring since. My husband stopped wearing his wedding band that he made special. Like, both of our bands were made from scratch, or mine was made from scratch. His was, it was a ring he was wearing when he met me, and then he had it melted and created into something nice, but just a different finish. And mine was fabricated, and he picked my diamonds out, and but I love it. It's beautiful. It's very simple, but I was so grateful for it, and it just was me and simple. But he hasn't worn his wedding band since a week into our marriage. So, and we're almost 2 years married now. Anyway, that's my share for tonight. Still unbelievable, even this far out. I just can't believe that he actually did that to me and treated me with such callousness and disregard. But that's my share. Thanks for listening. Have a good night. Take care.